Hello, good morning, dear students of Year 6. Today, our third session is about punctuation marks. Punctuation marks are really essential elements of success writing. Either it's a fiction or non-fiction writing, using your punctuation marks will make it easier for the reader to understand what you really do mean. It is really important to know that today we are going to start talking about punctuation when it comes to capitalization of using a capital letter and punctuation as a whole thing. It is really important to understand what are punctuation marks. They are a set of symbols and are an integral part of written language. There are specific rules for the usage of each punctuation. Marks help put spoken words into writing. While we move forward, we will study one by one element. What would you think would happen if there were no punctuation marks? This really happens, and I can answer this very well because I really suffered a lot while I'm trying to correct some of your writing products, especially in exam times. After we highlight the mistakes and I'm waiting for your successful writing, I find that unfortunately, many students still do something called running sentence. A running sentence means that you don't use punctuation marks at all, either a full stop, a comma, or anything. You just keep writing and writing and writing. Sometimes you reach a paragraph as a one sentence, which is really disastrous. What about when someone is reading out loud? How can you tell what punctuation marks are there? I guess your answer is going to be from their tone, intonation, from the way they stop, how they stop, where do they stop in their questions or in their answers or their sentences or whatever. The most commonly used punctuations are in front of you here. Period, which is the full stop in other words, exclamation mark, question mark, a comma, a semicolon, a colon, apostrophe. On the other side, other ones that are nearly common as well, quotation marks, in other words, we say speech marks, ellipses, hyphen, dash, parentheses, brackets, underline. These are very common and very important punctuation marks that you cannot use or make or produce any kind of writing product without using them. So let's follow them together. Let's go over them and see how we gonna manage. First one, the period. Usually a complete sentence that makes a statement ends with a period. So the sentence that you completely finish, for example, if you're gonna tell me, I like apples, this is a very full, complete sentence. Here, you will not complete anything more except a period or a full stop. For example, like the sample in front of you, it's your birthday, full stop. You blow out the candle, another period or full stop. That's an absolute complete sentence. Most abbreviations end with a period. What do I mean with abbreviations? Like this, doctor. Doctor is abbreviated. Doctor is D-O-C-T-O-R. But when I abbreviate it and use the title of it, I use DR period, DR full stop, doctor and full stop. Like the word Mr. Mr. Waleed, Mr. Muhammad, Mr. Zaki, Mr. whatever the name is, MR full stop. Mrs. MRS dot or full stop. Same thing here, road. Oak Road in the sentence. Dr. Howard lives on Oak Road. The word road is abbreviated, RD, period. Near Saint Mary, Saint Mary, ST, period. And by the end, the word hospital, which is the main one, we put full stop as well. So what do we see here? What do we have is that all the sentence here is just highlighted and used with period. Also use a period as a decimal point and to separate dollars from cents. And that's a very important one. It's commonly used as well. To use it with dollars and cents or to separate between the amount of money. 4.1 or 89.56 cents. That was for the period. Very simple. Exclamation mark. We use exclamation marks as a statement expressing strong feeling or excitement, and usually it ends with an exclamation mark. For example, when you are waiting for your friends to come and they are coming to your birthday, your dad is traveling, for example, to Saudi Arabia or to any other country, and as a surprise, he came to you on the birthday. You will say, "My dad, you came!" Oh my God. See? So that's kind of excitement. You are excited with this action. How can I translate this from oral or verbal action into written using exclamation mark? When you put exclamation mark, I know that you're excited, you're surprised, you are astonished. What a beautiful day it is. You're wondering of the day. Question mark, that is very simple and commonly used and simple. You just use it with question. Any question should end with a question mark. When will you be finished? That's simple. A comma. We have studied comma previously in the first term, and I know that it's very simple and very easy to handle. Um, a comma is commonly used when you do separate things in a series after the street name and between the date and year. For example, I ate pizza, a burger, and ice cream. You are separating a series of things. Or Miami, Florida, Tanta, Egypt, so on. January 6, 2003. I separated between the month, the date, and the year. Another usage for the comma, to separate an interruption in the main thought of a sentence, after an appositive, after a noun of direct address, and after a mild interjection such as oh, or well, or yes, or no. An appositive is a noun or noun phrase that gives additional information about the noun that follows. For example, Mr. Walker, our teacher, was happy. I will explain it to you in another way. We did it previously in the class when we explained comma as well before. I'll explain it that our teacher, this is a non-essential clause. Our teacher is a non-essential clause. In other words, if you remove it, try to remove our teacher from the sentence, you still have a full meaning or a full meaning sentence. Mr. Walker was happy. So the word or the phrase our teacher here is non-essential. That's why I put it between two commas. So what is non-essential that gives more information about the noun that it follows, we just put it between two commas. Cody, didn't I ask you to clean your room? Cody here, I called her. That's it. Put a comma because you don't need to put its name. It is non-essential one. I can remove it and they still can ask the question and it will be understandable because I'm looking at her. Didn't I ask you to clean your room? That's enough. So putting the name before or after, you have to separate between the sentence and the name with a comma. For example, didn't ask you to clean the room, comma, Cody. I still have to put the comma here. Sorry. Oh, the test was not that difficult. Oh, well, yes, no. Any kind of interjection, words like the ones I mentioned, we put them with a comma followed. A comma is also used after dependent thought that begins a sentence and indicate where pause is necessary to avoid confusion. For example, after Kelly, Jennifer gets a turn. If I remove the comma here from the sentence, try to remove it. After Kelly, Jennifer, now it means that Kelly, Jennifer is one person because I removed the comma. But putting the comma describes that I have two people. I have two persons. I have Kelly and I have Jennifer. So after Kelly, Jennifer gets a turn. So Kelly started and then Jennifer. Now it removes confusion. Joe came in quite a hurry. If I said Joe came in quite a hurry will describe that Joe came quite a hurry. But here it means two actions actually. Joe came in, that's action number one. In quite a hurry. And how he came quite a hurry. So I described it, two phrases, I divided them with a comma to describe each action alone. Another usage for a comma, to use it at the beginning of a personal letter and closing of any letter, and we studied that before also. Hey Sarah, and ending sincerely. Use a comma when no other punctuation mark is used when using quotation marks. I wanted to go, she remarked. So here, I have nothing, I wanted to go. No punctuation is actually used, no comma, no follow stop, but you mainly have to put a proper quotation or a proper punctuation mark. So putting a comma will be accepted here as well if you don't have a specific one to use. Use a comma before the conjunction, but, and, so, yet, before them, in a compound sentence. A compound sentence, we know there are the two sentences that are used or merged with these four words, which we can say fanboys, but not all the fanboys. Mainly you use them with these words, but, and, so, and, yet. She finished her work, and then she went to bed. A semicolon, we studied a semicolon before. Use a semicolon to separate two independent clauses. To separate two independent clauses. Two independent clauses, they are, as we explained in the last session, independent clauses are the clauses that can be left alone. They can come alone. For example, Casey read a book. It's a standalone sentence and it still can make a meaning by its own. He also did a book report. So these two sentences are independent and each sentence can stand alone by itself and each sentence has its own meaning. They are not so much related to each other. So if I need to make them in one sentence, however, they don't complete each other meanings, I put them with a semicolon. And that is it until the semicolon part. I would appreciate if you really take care of this point. Read it again. A semicolon is used to separate two independent clauses. So each sentence has to have its own meaning. Moving to the colon. The colon, they are the two dots over each other, the vertical ones. Use a colon to separate a list, to separate numerals indicating hours and minutes after the greeting of a business letter and between the title and subtitle of a book. I will need the following items. Now, what is coming next is a list. A list of things, separate things. I will need the following items, put colon, and then mention the items separated with a comma between each element. Scissors, paper, glue, and paint. 5 a.m. or p.m., whatever, between the minutes and hours, you have to put a colon. Dear Mr. Andrews, we use this colon, not a comma. We use comma in normal letters, but when it comes, or informal letters, but when it comes to formal letters or business letters, we put a colon after the name, after the greeting. Reading strategies that work. Here I'll mention more details and some other elements. I'll put it in colon. Read these samples, please, in 5 seconds. Okay. Apostrophe. Apostrophe is very commonly used, and we are aware of the usage of an apostrophe. We use an apostrophe in a contraction to show where letters have been left out, to show position, and to show that the first two numbers of the year have been left out. For example, I don't think I can do this. This is contraction, which is I do not do, which is G-O, not N-O-T. We usually combine both words, the negative and the verb do together, and we make them as don't, and we put apostrophe T. The lady's hands were trembling. The lady's hand, the S here is an apostrophe S, a possessive S. That shows that these hands are for the lady. That is very simple. And there's another rare usage, not commonly used between your friends and between your culture, but it is important to know it. She was in the class of 93. 93 means that there are two numbers that are removed, which is the 93 in other words. I do appreciate your efforts for today. I will stop here for this video. We will stop at the apostrophe. Make sure, please, that you watch the video once, twice, or triple, and make sure that you contact me regarding any questions via LMS, messages, or you can refer to my email address, waleed.rifaat@teams-egypt.com. Keep in contact, keep in touch, and please don't forget to do your homework on time. Thank you for your active listening. See you then.